All right, and we're live. Let's do this thing. Welcome, everybody. Peyton, looks like it's me and you at the moment. Let's give it a minute. Wait, let everybody file in. Went live a little later than expected. Just 15 minutes or so, but went live a little later than expected here. Gonna let everybody file in and wait for this thing to kind of get rolling. How's it going? Audio good? Can you hear me, bro? And yes, I'm not looking at the camera. I am watching comments. Okay, cool. Long as the audio is good, I'm good to go in the hood here. Long as the audio is good, I'm good to go in the hood. Let's see. I don't know. Let me see. Hang on. Yeah, right. Hi, Madeline. How are you today? Peyton, you're in. And I bet you're glad you're dry. Thank you for joining us. I bet you're glad you're dry at the moment. Doing good. Definitely can't complain. Definitely can't complain over here. I think we're all glad we're dry over here. Been dodging storms and tornadoes for the last, I don't know, 6-7 days, and it's nice to have blue skies. Okay, I know I tell you to keep the snow, and I know I tell you, you can keep the snow and everything like that, but respectfully, you could keep 96 degrees. We're not ready for that yet either. I mean, I'm all for it and everything like that, but I'm all for 96 degrees and 100 degrees, but I'd love spring to stick around a little longer. Just don't mind. I just don't like my people having to dodge tornadoes. We can dodge golf balls and, 60-mile-an-hour winds, but not tornadoes. Oh, by the way, Peyton, if you haven't noticed, it gave you your fancy tag. You got your little wrench over there. Yeah, you're welcome. Much easier than I thought it would be. A lot easier. I'm glad this computer let me do it. I have an older Acer Chromebook. Just going a lot slower than I thought it would so far. Waiting for the questions to start rolling in, see what else, or see what people want to know, people want answered. I was planning on answering all of the questions. There was, I don't know, at least 50, 55 questions in the comments that are just basic questions that one of the big outbreaks that we had here in the Southeast, because I know where you're at, Peyton, and of course where Seeking the Storm is, that we had or whatever. I got Facebook comment banned me, and I had to re-authenticate my account. That if we would have went back through and answered all those questions, I'd probably be re-authenticating my account again. Unfortunately, I don't like the community standards on Facebook, but I mean, it is what it is. Nothing that I can control. I actually honestly thought that they shut down my account permanently. I couldn't figure out why either until somebody told me that they basically thought that I was a robot from commenting so much. So I figured that this would be a lot easier and the easier route, opposed to going back through and answering 75 comments. Just answer everybody's questions, concerns, whatever, opposed to answering them live. Yeah, they thought that I was a robot, and they were like, okay, here's how we're going to do this. We're just going to shut down your account or restrict your comment access. That's why there was a secondary account within the group, which I wasn't a fan of. I haven't been a fan of that platform in a long time, but I mean, that's neither here nor there. It's been a decent platform for a while, but mission failed. They ignored my reports. Oh, so it was you. I see. Trying to take me down. Got it. Noted. Payback. Like the relationship. One of the, and I'm sure you see it too, Peyton, a lot of people with their weather apps and stuff like that, their Weather Channel, AccuWeather, My Radar, their whatever, they see yellow, green, red when they're watching storms or whatever, and they're not even, they'll be on it for 15, 20, 30 seconds just to watch, their general location, and they'll see it come in and they'll be focusing on the red. And I mean, you and I have had these conversations, no, what, 30 times or whatever, and they see yellow, they see red, they see green, and all that basically is heavy rainfall. That's heavy rainfall and potentially a little bit of hail. Um, those free radars or whatever, they're not even the best at showing the hail cores. They can pick them up, but typically 9 times out of 10, they're not even going to show the hail cores. You might get a glimpse of some pink and some purple. And if you do, okay, then you're going to be in trouble. They're pretty decent at showing, a hook echo, but they're not going to really dive deep into the pink or the purples, what really constitutes a severe storm. 9 times out of 10, somebody's looking at heavy rainfall. They're those. Right, it's absolutely horrendous what they're actually looking at. They're looking at red, and uh, they've done good with the warning boxes, being red. Most people see red and they're like, oh, scary. So a tornado warning or tornado watch is a red box, and they see that as bad. But these free radar or these free radars, all they see is red, and to them that's it's danger in their opinion, but all they're really looking at is significant rainfall, and it's not severe. Yeah, it's got heavy rain to it, but does it actually have hail? Does it have 60 to 70 mile an hour winds? Does it have a tornadic threat? Is there low level shear? Is there any instability in the atmosphere? What are they actually looking at? And with those free radars, that doesn't offer them any inside look into the storm other than what they're actually seeing, which of course a non-weather minded person, they don't understand that. So they see red and they automatically are like, oh man, it's going to get really bad, when in reality it's just a heavy thunderstorm. And a lot of people don't don't understand that there can actually just be run of the mill thunderstorms. We got one at work the other day. Skies darkened up and I looked out the door at work and I was like, oh, sky's getting dark. Sweet, knowing that all it was going to be was a little bit of rain. And did it get heavy? Moderately. But I mean, it wasn't anything. We didn't see any hail. We didn't see any 60-mile-an-hour damaging winds. We didn't see any tornadoes. We saw a little bit of heavy rain. Moderately heavy rain. Not even anything to, bat an eye about, or, run home and tell your mom. I think, unfortunately, a lot of people are having a hard time realizing the difference, especially people that are in weather groups, people that follow these scare tactic weather pages, these weather pages in general, because we post about it so much. You guys see the damage. You guys are so alert, so in tune with it, um, that you see it all the time. I mean, there's already pages that are looking at the next systems that are coming in, I mean, and realistically, that's what we're always doing. I mean, after I get home from work or when I have my free time or whatever, I'm model surfing. I'm looking at, you know, the 500 millibar low level jet, the 700 millibar, whatever. I'm constantly looking at the atmosphere or whatever to see where the next system could possibly set up, or constantly looking at parameters to see what this is going to do, what that's going to do. Am I always posting it? No. And I'm not, for me personally, speaking for myself, and for Cody, there's no reason for us to go posting a potential setup that's 10 to 14 days out, that for a lot of people which is, a decent majority of the groups that we admin run, is going to cause you guys to, some people in there sit in their room, drive in their car, whatever, and just freak out for the next 10 to 14 days. There's absolutely no reason to do that. Are we going to sit there and observe, look at the atmosphere, do our thing for the next, 10 to 14 days if we know something's coming or we see something, have an idea, Yeah, absolutely. We're going to do our thing. Are we going to post it? No, there's no reason to. If it's an upper echelon threat that, covers a wide ranging area and has the potential to be nasty, like we saw, what, 5, 6 days ago, 7 days ago, yeah, we're going to say something, Now, do we wait on lower end threats that, don't have as much potential to do as much harm and not say anything? Yeah, we do. Because those are the ones that the potential is there. Like the other day in Indiana, Kentucky, Tennessee, Southern Illinois, that was just predominantly a large hail and a damaging wind threat that did end up spawning the higher end EF1 tornado in Indiana. Um, we knew it was there. We just it was a large hail threat. Yes, large hail is going to be unfortunately damaging, but predominantly what 95% of people are concerned about and afraid of, unfortunately, is your tornadic threat. And again, damaging winds can do just as much 70, 80, 90 mile an hour straight line winds. A lot of people have to get that in their minds. They have to get that through their mindsets that 70, 80, 90 mile an hour damaging winds can be just as catastrophic and unfortunately just as deadly as a upper echelon EF0, lower end EF1 tornado, that they can do just the same thing, especially when you have falling trees, that can fall on houses, falling power lines. They can throw debris just as much as a EF1 tornado can, EF0, EF1. That's where we see a lot of our unfortunate fatalities in these tornadoes are the debris. If tornadoes didn't toss debris, you could go stand out in the middle of them, in theory. The lower end ones. Um, would the wind be, fierce? Yeah, it would. But if the debris, if your tree limbs, if your 2x4s, if your nails, if your sheet metal, if your cars, if your whatever wasn't sitting there swirling around in the wind, they wouldn't be much of a problem. It's just wind. Now, when you're getting up into the, 170, 180, 190 mile an hour range, okay, you would have a problem. But the lower end ones, we've all, stood there in a vortex of leaves and wind and dust and dirt devils and stuff like that, if we could find it, and come out mostly unscathed, except for a little bit of things in our eyes. Um, but we see in these tornadic events a lot of head and neck trauma, and that's what ultimately takes people's lives. But if we could get people to understand that, unfortunately, I lost my train of thought. If we could get people to understand that straight line winds, 70, 80, 90 miles an hour, is just as damaging as a lower end tornado, I feel like we could do a lot better. The other day when we had our issues in Tennessee, Kentucky, North Alabama, I have alerts set on from my phone, from Twitter, X, whatever you want to call that platform. And I just got brand new phone 2 days ago, 3 days ago. I was ready to personally let it sink and watch it, let it sink to the bottom of a lake, river, whatever, from the notifications that I was receiving from Twitter, simply from fallen tree reports. I probably got, I don't know, 40, 45 in a hour and a half period, because our ground was so saturated and 60 to 70 mile an hour wind reports, um, or 60 to 70 mile an hour winds within the severe thunderstorms. They were just one after the other, one after the other, one after the other. I did end up posting the one where the 60 mile an hour winds blew the portion of the roof off. I don't know how structurally sound that was. That building was. It obviously wasn't too structurally sound to have the portion of the roof blown off, but it was. I mean, it was a building. It was, structurally sound enough to pass codes. But the portion of the roof was blown off. In, I think, what was at that point in time, if I remember correctly, severe warned for 60 mile an hour winds. It wasn't 70 as far as I know. But it was at least 60. Yeah, I would have to agree with that. If you think, Peyton, if you think about a plane crash, um the brace position, forward, hands over your neck, you still want to have something, sound over your head. That's why um a helmet is recommended. When we had back on back on March 15th, I personally, where I work in retail, personally sold, I think it was 4 bike helmets, helped some people pick out bike helmets, or advised them for bike helmets. Yes, bike helmets. We sold those on the 15th ahead of severe weather. Ideally, and I know they're expensive, but ideally motorcycle helmets would work too. Motorcycle helmets would work great. Face shields. Um, that's going to be one of my next investments, is going to be motorcycle helmets. I absolutely love the idea of being in a full face mask. That's fine, Bree. It's been really slow. I mean, only 4, 3, 4, 5, something like that. Extremely slow. It's cool. Just me, Madeline, and Peyton kind of talking back and forth, having a good old time. But yeah, bike helmets. Ideally, like I said, motorcycle helmet. That would be one of my, and I actually got that idea from, I used to fish bass fishing tournaments in boats 70, 80 miles an hour down the lake. No, I have not, Cody. I have absolutely not. That I've realized. Thank you. It's probably coming, but I haven't done it. Been very mindful. Um, yeah, but I used to fish fishing tournaments, and 70, 80 miles an hour down the lake. Motorcycle helmets to keep things from hitting you in the face would be utilized very well if you're in a closet or in a hallway or whatever. Baseball helmets would do real well too. Batter helmets, especially if you can manage to find them with the full cage, would do absolutely stunning. To protect the head and neck. See, and that's why, back to the whole radar thing. That was one reason that when I made the share of the whole WeatherWise app, because you guys are looking at you guys are looking at one view of it, which is the base reflectivity view, and all that's basically showing you is rain through the red, the yellow, and the green. It gives you a decent idea of, if you're looking and you know how to observe the hook echo. It can give you a decent idea of the hook echo. But if you see a hook echo on the radar, sure, you can see where the hook echo is, but you still have to pin it down with a velocity scan. And if you don't have access to a velocity scan, Um, if you don't have access to a velocity scan, which your Weather Channel app, your AccuWeather app, your My Radar app, all that stuff, your free apps don't typically come with velocity scan. You can also, like Peyton just said, you can also see the CC drops, which is correlation coefficient, which will also show you if debris is being lofted into the air on correlation coefficient. So that's another reason that I dropped the WeatherWise app into the chat or into the groups, so that you guys have a free app that is actually extremely useful, as opposed to really just being able to see that app on or really just being able to see rain essentially on the radar, and you guys are seeing red and thinking, oh, well, this is really bad, when in reality it doesn't have any of the ingredients, or it's not that terrible. It's just more so of a thunderstorm. Um, I saw a post the other day that got shared, and there was quote unquote rotation to it, but that rotation was so broad that that storm probably needed, I don't know, 35, 40 miles to tighten up, um, and didn't end up tightening up, but probably sent half that town who saw it to their storm shelters. Sure, it could have tightened up, it could have tightened up in 10, 12 miles, and it definitely could have dropped. Knowing that the ingredients weren't there, that post didn't need to be made. It's all about understanding how the storm works, what the storm looks like, and if the ingredients are actually there for that storm to do something. Radar fundamentals are an extreme key to understanding the environment that you're looking at. Why is he calling me? He knows what I'm doing. Yeah, Cody, I would have to agree with you 100%. Radar fundamentals are absolutely key to knowing what you're looking at, understanding, so that yes, yellow blobs just mean heavy rain, thunder. Yellow, red, and green do mean just heavy rain, thunder. If you have a good radar app, uh, pretty sure the Weather Channel. I don't use the Weather Channel for anything other than temperature, barometric pressure, and warnings, whatever. But they should be able to see lightning out of them too. Should be able to see lightning on that too. But yeah, means a heavier band of rain is coming through. And like I said, I haven't used the Weather Channel app for radar in a long time, so not sure if it shows you the hail core. But when you see, yeah, the Weather Channel app is not the greatest. But if you're seeing these pinks, these purples, pink, purple, you start getting into that, you're seeing substantial rainfall rates, and it's usually geared towards hail as well. Pink on most radars is hail cores and heavier rainfall rates in the realm of, upwards of 3/4 of an inch to an inch and a quarter an hour. And that's going to be where you're going to see ponding on roadways and flooding concerns, if that isn't your hail core. But being able to understand what you're seeing on the radar is a huge peace of mind, especially when you're understanding and looking at a severe weather threat that is actively coming your way. If you're able to read and identify velocity couplets, correlation coefficient, debris ball couplets, debris signatures, technical term, sorry, um, couplets, stuff like that before they, advance upon your area. Likelihood of you ever being impacted by a tornadic event or a tornado is extremely low. Again, 1 in 12,000. If there's anybody in here currently from Clarksville, I'm sorry that happened to you. Still really relatively low. That was just a bad day. Rogue storm. But if you're, able to see the debris ball and the velocity couplet wrapping up, advancing towards your location, yeah, without, having to go to social media or watch TV, because radar is behind. You have to wait for the radar beam to finish its little scan. Okay. Radar beam, you have to finish its scan. So it is, behind a little bit, 2 or 3 minutes, something like that. But if you can see the storm advancing on your location, um, you have better odds of being able to seek shelter. That's why we try to give you guys an advance notice of where it's going, what it's doing, and stuff like that. So that there is that heads up. Yeah, no, 5 to 8 minute update and not fast at all. And sometimes, what was it? Late last year that they were having late last year, something of the nature. They were having so many problems with their servers being down that they got hacked. I don't know if they got hacked or they had like 3 or 4 server issues in a span of like 3 or 4 months, where we'd access Radar Scope, Omega, whatever, and I think it was like half of the radar networks were down, 3/4 of the radar networks were down. And unfortunately, things like that happen. And especially if you're relying on someone like, myself, someone like Cody, someone like Max Velocity, that we get screwed like that. If the radar networks go down or the weather networks go down, your local weather station, your local weather network, weather office, that's the word I'm looking for, they won't be as adversely affected. They have backups. So those would be a great idea to tune into if, somebody that you're watching on the internet, watching on YouTube, somebody like that has an outage. Your local NWS office, they do have backups. They will be affected to a degree, especially if their radars are adversely affected, but they do have backups and can get back online faster than somebody using Radar Scope, somebody using Radar Omega, something like that. An app will be adversely affected. Yes, the difference in storm mode also does make the difference. Also does make the difference as well, Cody. I agree. Organized, cell by itself, organized, linear system, a messy mode, blob on the radar, whatever it is. If we're talking about, if you see, a post where we're talking about discrete cells out ahead of the front, or discrete cells by themselves in general, that's going to be a nasty day. If we're talking about discrete supercells, and that's the main mode of thunderstorms, you're going to want to pay attention. You're really going to want to pay attention at that point. If the main mode of thunderstorms is, if the main mode of storms for the day is a discrete mode of storms, and there's instability in the atmosphere, There's a lot of cape, there's a lot of 3 cape, there's a lot of their lapse rates are steep. You've got a lot of stuff a lot of ingredients in the atmosphere, and you're looking at a main mode of discrete storms. You're probably my guess would be, depending on the rest of what you're looking at, the rest of the conditions, you're probably looking at least an enhanced risk if the main mode is going to be discrete. If there's no secondary mode, there's no linear mode, um, anything like that, and you're working with a cold front, even could be working with, depending on the area, you typically see dry lines out west. But if you're working with a cold front or something like that, and you're working with discrete storms, those are usually your prolific tornado producers, your high-end EF3, EF4 type tornadic producers, as opposed to what we went through the other day with your large hail damaging wind producers. You get a linear mode, QLCS, squall line, whatever everybody likes to call it. Everybody has their own differential of the storm mode. But same thing pretty much. If it's typically linear mode, it more so poses a damaging wind, large hail threat, as opposed to a tornadic threat. Now, that doesn't mean that there's not going to be embedded tornadoes within the line of storms. However, linear modes of storms have to fight for the atmospheric energy out, that's available. So think of all of the atmospheric energy, all of the cape, all of the 3 cape, the steep lapse rates, everything like that that's out there in the energy, out there in the atmosphere. These storms are congealed into a line of storms, and they're all, bumping each other, doing this, doing that, fighting for what's available in the energy. Opposed to discrete storms, you have one storm, here, another storm 50, 60 miles away. They're able to soak up all of the atmosphere's available energy, and they can do they can do basically whatever they please, soak all of that energy up, and go ahead and drop tornado after tornado after tornado and become cyclic producers. Yeah, it's an extremely hard point, unfortunately, to get across to people. A lot of people just don't understand the difference between intense lines of storms that do have the right environment, and intense lines of storms that don't have the right environment. Because you can have intense lines of storms that have the right environment, that go on to produce 30, 40, 50, 60 tornadoes. What Illinois derecho event of 2021, right after December 21st, or right after December 10th of 2021. We'll get it nailed down, Madeline, I promise. That's part of the reason for this video. Yeah, I mean, is it December 15th of 2021? The Illinois derecho event, or I don't even know if it was classified as a derecho. If Brianna's still in here, she could probably school me on that one. I know, I mean, she's big weather brain. But it was right after December 10th, 2021, because obviously December 10th, 2021 was horrific, absolutely horrific, and had it was 80 something, 70, 80 something tornadoes. And then a couple days later, the December record was broken. So Yeah, the December record was broken a couple days later. Which was essentially, I mean, a bigger windbag, if you want to classify it as that, but prolific tornado producer. Um, that was mostly EF2s and EF3s. Well, EF1s and EF2s. I think there was maybe an EF3 or something like that. I don't remember. It's kind of just feel free to drop any questions you can think of, Matt, on. It's just kind of us, me, you, and the mods in here chilling at the moment. Um, but I'm trying to think of anything else at the moment that I can um, really address, go over while I can. I know I'm gonna do. Somebody asked me to do a weather go bag video, and I'm gonna do that shortly. Not today, not tomorrow. Bro, somebody asked me about the models 3 weeks out for May something or other, May 12th or something like that, and I haven't looked at them yet because it's so far out. I'm not being no. Um yeah, you just got to breathe. You just got to breathe. Be slow. You know, take a deep breath and remember that really where you're really um in all fairness and honesty, I mean, um where you're at is honestly the same spot that Peyton is at, just couple miles away. And when I say a couple miles, I mean probably 60 or 70. But it's the same area. And you guys' time is coming to a degree. Next month it'll start getting busiest busiest, starting getting a little busy, but it's not too terrible there, to be honest with you. It comes and then it's gone. Probably, 30 days or so. You guys never see too terribly much. Last year was eh. I mean, it's never really terrible there, or it doesn't seem to be. Um, you guys have your stretches and then it goes. Yeah, I do too, Cody, at this point. I know several are right now at Bible study, but I'm trying to think at the moment. I know that I know that radar is a big one. That was a really big one. What they were seeing on radar. What they were seeing on radar. Um I know that, um, like we had spoken about, the probability of a tornado directly impacting is low, 1 in 12,000. Um, I just wanted to see kind of base it off of what other questions that people could think of that they actually had, going on in their whimsical minds as of the moment. But I do feel like more so people are going to ask after the fact. Future radar is such a huge issue, especially with these um these apps and stuff like that. That's why, I mean, I don't touch Future Radar personally, because you have it where it uploads the current model data from all these models that's ongoing. And it just has to it uploads it from all the current models, and it just keeps going and going, and then they check it at 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, 40% chance of rain. Okay, let me be a little more accurate. 44% chance of rain. I can't stand that. 44% chance of rain. And then, they look 4, 5, 6 hours later, and they've got, say the 17Z run or something like that, and model data has uploaded again, changed, whatever, 66% chance of rain. And then 21Z has come out, 33% chance. It's just so unreliable that it's honestly not even worth looking at. It's not even it's not worth playing around with. I mean, especially to me, it's just people look at it and it's so confusing. And then you hear that's where your comments come in from, all the people who rely on the Futurecast radar, where it spits out numbers, a meme that goes around, it spits out numbers like Powerball. And then that's where your comments come in. Oh, the weatherman got it wrong again. Oh, the weather. No, your unreliable weather app got it wrong again, that you rely on daily, that you don't understand exactly how it works. And unfortunately, they also don't understand how the weather forecasting works either, because 40% chance of rain doesn't mean that there's a 40% chance of rain in your location. But they don't understand that. So, it's not terribly bad. Um, I think he might have only seen a tornado once in his whole entire life. And I think he just got a peek at it. And yes, it was last year. I don't even know if he got a peek at it. I really don't know if he got a peek at it. We were texting back and forth. I was talking about the God, well, I don't even, where was the tornado last year for you guys? It's just northeast of you. Yeah, there was a tornado last year. Actually, I think it was a series of tornadoes. It was like, I think there was two or three down from two different storms. It wasn't They were lower end and brief and weak. Um they weren't absolutely terrible. Um Reed Timmer was, of course, on them. They weren't the worst. but it honestly stays more, unfortunately, towards the Portales area, Portales and Clovis, um, and then goes kind of northward and stuff like that. But it's not the worst up that way. Um, if it's gonna be typically the worst of it goes towards the Texas Panhandle. Now that's not saying I haven't seen in the couple years I've been watching that area. That's not saying I haven't seen Clovis and Portales in tornado warnings because I have. But let's see. I'm trying to think. Really don't think I have anything else that I can think of. And of course, as soon as I shut it down, I'll think of something else that probably could have been used. If I do, I may add it in the comments. But other than that, I'm going to, I think, get to work on writing down lists for the go bag video that I'm about to do. And that'll probably be up in a couple of days or something of that nature. I do appreciate y'all hanging with me tonight. And I am going to cut this out. Y'all have a good rest of the night.